Happy Thursday, everybody. Today's June 5th. Hansheiser Bobach at Bradley's. As you can see, we're minus somebody. Apparently the FCC, some of the powers that be have... Hey, Chase no longer with us.
Some of his radio concepts are really not in line with what they're doing in America today.
I don't know what he does. Apparently, it was an extreme inconvenience for Mr. Cannon to be with us today.
Maybe he infuriates all of the authorities.
Maybe he was doing one of those bleaching jobs we were talking about last week. I don't know. Anyway, we won't talk about it. Good to see you guys. A lot to get to today. We're Bradley's, and as you can see, this is a good time to do the show. See, typically you have me come in, right around 4, so I get out at 5.
Right.
Right. Johnson's Ferry, 285, Roswell Road at 5 o'clock.
Right. No,
Thank you for that.
And I know a lot of you at home are thinking, how in the heck do we get to do the show from the bar at Star Wars? But they're not here today because we're a little bit earlier. And
is this where I pick it up?
I would hope that as a co-guy here.
Well, yeah, I can drive
right
this
in.
thing. A couple things to get to. First of all, I saw Craig Sager today at Northside Hospital. He's doing good. Lost a little bit of weight because of the treatment and whatnot, but said he got the finals right as far as who was going to be playing. And I didn't want to pick his brain too much. He's got his hands tied right now, but he looks good. Hopefully he makes a full recovery. It's a tough thing that he's going through. But the finals do start tonight, and I don't think you could have a better matchup. I think it's to me right now outside of San Francisco, outside of Auburn, Alabama,
right,
San Francisco, Seattle. Mm-hmm. I think you can put San Antonio, Miami in that conversation as one of the best, rivalries in sports right now.
Oh, I think so. You know what? They don't jump out at a lot of people. Of course, Miami does.
It's like Bach for Rigno.
Exactly, but they are so good that they're subtle. They're so well coached that their aptitude for the game is very, very subtle. You understand? And then when you start to think about it, this team is really well coached.
I thought that in the Oklahoma City series, when Ibaka came back, a team that went 4-0 against them in the regular season, they were so dominant in those 2 games in Oklahoma City.
Right.
I thought he was going to go to 7. I think everybody thought he was going to, especially when Parker got hurt in that game 6. But they just showed you, especially Kawhi Leonard, I think he's the X factor. He's the athletic young guy, for San Antonio that kind of is against what they stand for.
Right.
They showed me a lot in that game because they out-athletic and out-basketballed Oklahoma City.
Right.
If that's even possible, but they did.
No,
so they can go. They can play both styles.
No, Hans, that's the difference. The difference was coaching. It was the basic elements of coaching, the fundamentals of coaching that made them better, that made them get by Oklahoma City. Because if you go by athletic ability, Oklahoma City's got it up the yin-yang.
What do you think of Oklahoma City? What's the deal with them?
I think Scott Brooks has got to get out of there. I think
he's
done a nice job, but you know what? The difference between a nice job and a great job is the difference between them and San Antonio.
But here's the
deal. They have more athletes than San Antonio.
They are one guy retiring. They are a Tim Duncan retirement away from being that team that's in the finals every year. Who's going to compete with them in the West? Houston? What has Dwight Howard ever done?
Well,
right? It's Golden State.
Yeah, but
they just lost the best coach they could have ever had.
Right.
There's not that team in the West. They are a Tim Duncan away from retiring from being a perennial Western Conference champion.
Right.
And I tell you what, if San Antonio wins it this year, and I'm Tim Duncan, which I've been confused for quite a few times.
No, I know that.
Hey, Timmy! Not Tim.
No.
Not Tim.
Everybody does that. Everybody does.
I retire. If I win it this year, I retire. That's 5.
Right.
I'm out. See you.
Except for the fact that, there's nothing prima donna about Tim Duncan whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. And you know what? He's still got a lot left. I mean, look at him. Look at him now. He's still got a lot left. I see no difference in his game today. Obviously there is, and if you looked at the analytics, there would be. But I see no difference in the naked eye in his game today to where
it's amazing, isn't it?
You're
right.
Plus, he's mentally refreshed. It's not like you don't see any wear and tear on him whatsoever.
No. What is he, 37, Ed?
Yeah.
37 years old to get up and down the floor. Now, a lot of that has to do with, I have a theory on this. He didn't start playing basketball until he was like 17. He was a swimmer.
Right.
And so there's
Virgin
nothing.
Island.
There's nothing less stressful on your knees other than doing sports talk radio than swimming.
Right. Right.
Those are about the only two things. But I think
occasionally those things you say, well, give me a knee jerk, and I was like, oh my God, I hope it's all right.
Can we edit that? Can we get that out of the show? That was not one of your finer jokes. It's not one of your better ones. It's okay. We're just getting started.
I'm here all day, so don't worry.
You'll be here all day.
It gets better.
So, I think that this team, San Antonio, what do you think about Tim Duncan's comments? I think it's so out of character for him to come out and say, not only is this the matchup that we want, but we're ready for them. Things are going to be different this time. That's not like him to say that. And, you don't want bulletin board material for LeBron James and Spoelstra and those guys.
I know. Hey, right? You know what, though? I mean, coming from who could be more competitively smarter than he?
Right.
Who could be more intuitive than he? He really believes it.
Right.
And he's sick of all this nonsense. And he's supposed to be like, the king of feel like it. We're going to beat him.
So you like San Antonio?
I love San Antonio, but I can't go against Miami.
Right, because of the best player.
Athletic ability, the best player, and the one guy in the league who, if the money was on the line, he's the guy you want with the ball in his hands to do whatever he wants on the floor.
But he doesn't want the ball.
But he's been reluctant. I think when he was in Cleveland, and then just when he came over from Cleveland, he was the reluctant superstar. But now he understands that he can take over any single game he's in.
Let me ask you a question. If you could compare him to any player that's ever played the game, what is the fairest comparison?
I think Herschel Walker. I mean it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no comparison with anybody.
Well, that's right. There
on
is
the basketball floor. There's never been any comparison. Nobody that big, that strong, that fast, that powerful has ever played the game.
Right. Okay.
Did you see him the other night? It was the semblance of a fast break, except the ball got to the middle of him. He's shoulder to shoulder with the defender, and boom, turns on the juice, and he leaves him.
I tell you,
he looked like California Chrome.
We'll get to California Chrome. You know, one of the best plays in the NBA this year was that block that he had against the Pacers. The game Indiana won. Right?
Yeah.
Where he went down out of nowhere.
Right. And swiped it from behind.
Who can do that?
No, nobody.
Who can do that? So with all that, with LeBron James, a healthy Dwayne Wade, a jump shooting Chris Bosh, which you got to imagine is probably going to help them, might maybe get some of those bigs away from the basket. Right. But now you look at some of the
Battier swan song.
Battier's a little bit older. Right? Battier's not the same guy he was last year.
He just announced his retirement.
Yeah, he's going to be an analyst.
This is it. And, he's also the type of guy that responds to his own emotion, responds to intangibles. He's going to say to himself, like he said, I'm putting it all on the line. This is it. This is my swan song. He does anyway, but watch him now.
Right.
I mean, that's still another molecule of advantage for Miami.
I still think the biggest X factor in this series is Kawhi Leonard. I think he can, other than Paul George, I think he's one of maybe 2 or 3 guys that can defend LeBron James in the post, that can defend him on the perimeter, that can get after him in transition. I'm not saying he can stop him. Nobody can stop the guy, but you don't have to double a lot is what I'm saying. You can leave them alone on an island, and Kawhi Leonard can hold his own offensively as well.
I like him. Kawhi Leonard's pretty good. I prefer Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi.
You just called him Connie.
Well, you called him Quinky or something. Crying out loud.
Where are we?
Where are we?
Where are we?
Where are we?
So, do you want to save your your series predictions for the end?
No.
What do you got?
I've got Miami. I can't go again.
But here's the thing. It goes 2-2-1-1.
2-2-1-1-1.
So what do you say? Miami in 6?
I'm not saying Miami in 6. I'm saying Miami.
No.
I can't do that. I can't do that. How can I do that? I mean, I have great respect for San Antonio. I think every game is going to come down to the wire. You would suspect. I would not be surprised.
You want to make it interesting?
What do you want to say? 6?
You want to make it interesting?
I can't say 6. I say San Antonio. I say Miami.
Okay, I'll take San Antonio. I got an old laptop at home.
Yeah.
You got anything you want to?
I had a laptop. This is the way my luck's going lately. All right. Up to 10 minutes ago, I had an old laptop.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I got a laptop now.
So
I'm willing to put it on the line.
I would love to go in with you.
Yeah.
Damn, my luck.
All right, so we won't do the laughter. Did you catch any of the hockey last night?
Yeah.
I heard your boy Pharrell on the radio. He was doing the talk. Do you ever work with him?
You know what? I was at 680 at the time, and I'd been the first guy in sports.
This had to be
radio.
a long time ago because you pissed them off a long time ago.
Wow. This was probably 93.
That's about right.
I was
right about when you pissed them off.
I was the first guy on the air in this format. I did the test for the format and all that stuff, and I was with 680 and AJ and I. In fact, AJ and I set the record for highest ratings ever in a morning show in sports talk radio. And then, so I'm waiting for.
Who ran point on that show?
I'm waiting for.
No, really.
Me.
No, seriously. Who else was on that show?
Shapiro got to the market?
You never ran point in your life. Who else ran? Who was on that show?
No, AJ ran point. Honest to goodness, he hated it. I couldn't do it.
No way he ran point.
Yes.
And it was number one?
Number one. Hey, AJ, first of all, as you know, is a natural.
Well, yeah, I understand. He's in the film business, I hear.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And he can do anything in radio. He can do anything.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that. I just thought there was a third turn.
And I would rant and rave, and that's why they brought in Fathead from Boston.
Yeah?
To bring him in to argue with me. And all he would do was argue with me. And so, what were we talking
Pharrell.
about? Oh, so.
And it's out of overtime. So he was doing all that last night.
Yeah, so I'm waiting for my contract. 6A, they kept putting on. So I come in one Monday, and they said, all right, Bo, Pharrell was starting that day. We want you to work with Pharrell. I said, really? I quit.
No, I think it was Oscar de la Renta.
Oscar de la Renta, y'all. And they never forgave me for that. But you know what? What am I? First of all, Pharrell doesn't want to work with anybody.
He's a one-man band.
Yeah, and second of all, what am I going to be? Pharrell's Tonto?
No.
What am I going to get? Oh, Mr. Pharrell, you want some donuts?
You've never been anyone's Tonto.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it wouldn't work out. So anyway, I caught a little bit of him doing the hockey, and he knows his hockey. And the only perspective I heard was him and Gary Melrose, of course. And They were talking about how great of a game it was.
It was.
You got the two major markets going on. I guess the final minute of regulation, there was a power play, and you had a couple great saves.
Incredible save. Glove save by Lundqvist, and then came over the top of it, and it was like.
Who's got the better team? Can you tell?
I think Kings athletically.
Do you? Well, they won it 2 years ago, didn't they?
Yeah.
Or 3 years ago?
I don't know.
I think it's the same core group of guys, but yeah, hockey's growing up here in this town, it's tough to get into, man. If you're a kid, if you're my age, growing up, Flames were already gone by the time I was 4 or 5.
Right.
And then tried to get into the Thrashers and, one playoff series and a sweep to the Rangers later. It was just really...
Thrashers are totally mismanaged.
Well, you had the Danny Heatley thing.
Flames, yeah.
Kovalchuk.
Yeah, but then just no rhyme or reason how they were putting it together. John... Don Waddell had no clue. Right. I mean, he was just an old scout and had no idea how to put anything together. And what was really unfortunate is, in fact, I was talking today about a Flames playoff game versus Detroit.
First round,
Detroit
second
Red
round.
Wings, first round. It was the most amazing atmosphere. It was the best crowd I've ever been in Atlanta.
Really?
Before
what year was this?
This was
77.
After that.
78?
Yeah, 78, 79, 80, right in there. And a great
Did they win the series?
No. In fact...
That's so Atlanta. Greatest atmosphere ever. It was so great. Oh, break my heart. Did they win? No.
Yeah, no, but
no, we didn't win.
But the Flames were different than a lot of teams that we've had here. Flames were, the intention was to win.
Were they kind of like the 91 Falcons with Glanville? Wanted to get after it?
No.
No?
No, it's no team like that.
No team like that.
No team like that. No team like that. Hey. They're playing with 3 guys like you, me, and Longino Clarks over there. All right?
Uh-huh.
And they're, setting records in the West for a team that couldn't win for 2 years before that. So don't talk.
No, I'm not talking about that. You've been saying for years that the Falcons needed to be more physical, that they were too much of a finesse team. Well, guess what?
Well,
they finally went out and addressed it.
They addressed it mildly. They haven't addressed it. You know what they've done? They put a Band-Aid on it. They've taken a little.
I don't agree with that.
They've taken a little, cocoa butter like you.
But no, that's not it. Bo, tell me this. You know football. You know professional football. Being in the locker room better than anybody I know. That's not something that happens overnight. That's a slow transition. It's going to take 3 years to get to where they want to be.
No, but Hans, this is my point. It is a quick transition if you cut off the head of the problem.
But isn't that too much of a culture shock for the guys in the locker room?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't see how it would be at all.
I tell you what, you give Matt Ryan enough time to throw with those receivers this year.
It's lights out.
I really do.
Lights out.
It's going to be fun to watch. The team to beat, though, obviously is Seattle, but San Francisco yesterday, or allegedly, give Kaepernick $61 million guaranteed. Yeah. Is he a guy? I mean,
you know what? That's what everybody's getting today. That's what you name your quarterback. He's going to be a $20 million a year guy.
So, pick your guy, Jay Cutler. No. I'm just saying, pick your guy. There's only 20 of them.
No, I'm saying, but if Jay Cutler's my guy and I'm the general manager, I'm more inclined to go a little bit below the top shelf. I'm more inclined to go 15. As opposed to the 20 number that.
I think that's what he's getting. Getting.
But top guys like if Kaepernick is,
you know who
is
the
a
top
Brady,
guy is Matt Ryan.
He was second. He's got 59 million
guaranteed though.
He's got 59 million.
Whatever.
Guaranteed.
You're splitting hairs at this point. It's $2 million, Bo.
What they did with Kaepernick was to make him number one. Like if Matt Ryan's Kaepernick signed last year, if he'd been in the league earlier.
But when I think of the 49ers and I think of the Seahawks, the last thing I think about are Colin Kaepernick and Russell Wilson. I don't think about the quarterback. I think about any other team in the NFL. I think about the quarterback. I think about their defense. I think about their running backs.
That's so good their physicality is. That's their calling card. And guess what? 8 coaches around the league. That's what's winning. That's what you have to have. You can't go in with a finesse team like we are and expect to win those games.
Did you hear? That's a good point. You look at the finesse teams over the history. You look at the Vikings team that we beat, right?
Right.
You look at all those Oiler teams that were so great. How the hell did the Saints win one?
Hans, well, the Saints are more physical.
They'll knock your ding dong in the dirt from time to time, right on.
There's been only one finesse team that won the history. Rams. Right. Chuck Knox Rams.
Right.
That's the only finesse team that's ever won a Super Bowl. And
Chuck Knox? No, it was freaking Dick Vermeil.
No, Dick Vermeil was after that. I'm talking about the Chuck Knox Rams.
Well, Dick Vermeil's greatest show on turf. Those guys, they didn't do shit on defense.
They weren't as bad as Chuck Knox. Chuck Knox's team would take out a hanky and wipe off your face packs before they latched onto you.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It was,
Wow. What if I didn't have a hanky? Use your imagination.
God, good luck. Woo. Trainer.
No, did you hear what Carroll said about Harbaugh? Harbaugh does just seem like a prick. You called that one, too. I'm not here to kiss your ass today, believe me. But you called Harbaugh being a prick.
Yeah.
He said they asked him about the whole Kaepernick deal and the money thing, and they said, well, what's your relationship like Harbaugh? He says, we love beating him.
I saw that. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, that's what makes rivalries great. But it's great to be on the winning side, so you can say those things, right? For all those years when Florida was beating the shit out of Georgia and Spurrier was just bam, zing, bing, bam, boom, and we couldn't say anything.
I know.
So now we seem to got their number a little bit.
Well, it's hey, by the way.
Yeah, Trey Matthews?
Trey Matthews, this kid, here goes, just about the entire secondary has gone over to Todd Grantham. At Louisville.
Yeah. And Bobby Petrino. You can't make this stuff up.
Good. You know what? You know what's also making these kids crazy? All of a sudden, there's a defensive coordinator at Georgia. There's no nonsense. He's not taking any crap. What you've got to do is, this is the way it is that we play Bulldog football. You have to run. You have to be in the right spot. You have to study. You have to be intense. You can't make mistakes under pressure like Trey Matthews made in the Auburn game. These kids are all freaking out because this guy, Greg Ewer, who comes from the secondary side of the ball anyway, is making these guys be accountable.
I think the whole notion that he was in class and he was arguing with a teammate and The teacher said, "Hey, be quiet." He said, "Hey, no, we're not being loud." He said, "Get out." He said, "No, you get out." And Mark Richt says, "Okay, you're off the team."
It's more than that.
Okay, you know Coach Richt.
Right.
Do you think Coach Richt would do anything like that to somebody that got kicked out? Hell no. That kid acted a damn fool in that classroom.
Right.
And it's just a matter of time before the truth comes out.
Right. And you know what?
It's just a matter of time.
And you know what? Even acting like a damn
I've
fool.
acted a fool in a classroom,
Even like
I know.
Hey, I've got some things I like to put up against Dre Matthews myself. But, you know, he even for going Nicky Belucci in a classroom, Mark Richt wouldn't throw him off the team. It's been a whole series of stuff. You either act like you're a teammate of ours, you either act like you're a Georgia Bulldog, or, you know what, after a while, your act wears out.
Well,
Get out of here. I'm tired of this.
You know, Muschamp did the same deal when he came down to Florida. He took a couple of those kids and, you know, hung an idiot in the middle of the village to kind of prove it. It hadn't really worked out for him. I think the key on Georgia's whole season, defensively, I think they're going to be good because they got so much talent coming back. Secondary aside, I mean, how many great quarterbacks from the SEC now? Manziel's gone. You know, McCarron's gone. Florida's kids, Terry Driscoll's awful. Well, I'm not worried. Connor Shaw's gone.
Well, I'll tell you what, you know.
But what it's going to come down to is just they've simplified things so much where these kids don't have to think. They can just go play football.
Right. And you know, now Aaron Murray's gone too. But you know what? You know, the kid won't have to go for 40 a game to win.
And he'll
because I don't care how many I don't care how many players you're losing off your defense. The fact that they're going to be coached. That they're going to be actually.
Well, they were
coached.
young last year.
They were young,
but he's a nincompoop.
But you don't do that at the end of the year. You know that's something that you can never make a mistake like. That's the unconscionable mistake.
Right.
So I mean, you can say he was young, he was a freshman, he was this. It was like, hey, it was game what? 8, 9, 10, 11. It was at the end of the year. And these kids were always out of never in the right formation, depending on down and distance.
I saw it.
He would go full press, bump and run, you know, on the the left wide out, and there'd be no safety behind him. That's how Auburn also scored in that game. You can't do that. If you're going to go full press, bump and run on the weak side, you've got to have a safety over the top.
Yeah.
I mean, all kinds of things that defensive coordinators take for granted. This guy never knew because he was the defensive line coach his entire career.
I think it was a whole arrogance thing. I don't know about that. But
there's everything.
We'll see. We'll find out early on. Georgia's got to go up to Columbia week 2 after Clemson again. Right. So we'll find out. How about Don Zimmer? He was one of my favorites growing up, and he was old shit. When I was watching, he was a Cub skipper. You know, he was on WGN every day.
Right.
And I'd listen to Harry Carey and Steve Stone doing the broadcasts, and get to see Popeye come out there and throw some hissy fits. And but you had a chance. Obviously, he played for the Dodgers, and seems like a good guy.
A great guy. I mean, I got close to Joe Torre when he was here, and so Zim, was always part of that entourage, and one of the nicest guys I ever met. One of the nicest guys to be around. Would do anything for you, and he'd especially do anything for you if you happen to be at the racetrack.
That's what I heard. Cards, dogs.
Love the ponies.
Dogs. Racetrack, the whole thing.
But what a good guy! It was a kid. It was a guy that players could relate to. They never resented him telling them anything because you know what? He treated everybody like the men that they were supposed to be.
In the game, the way it used to be played, in comparison to today, as far as the non-steroid era, hitting the ball where it's pitched, taking the extra base, head first slide, just little things like that. I hear my dad, who played, constantly complaining that the new players aren't doing that.
Right.
Well, a lot of organizations have guys like Zim, at the bottom. They're at spring training. I don't want to say at the bottom, but in the org, right?
That's introductory to say this is the way it's done.
Right.
Don't wait till you get to AA to find out how it's done.
So at that point, it becomes the kid or the professional. At this point, it's up to them whether or not they want to adhere to the advice, right? So like B.J. Upton, obviously he didn't hear a word Zimmer ever said.
Nothing.
Just in one ear, out the other ear. But no, that's a damn shame. B.J. Upton, by the way, tweeted this morning that he would, not be, anywhere in the game of baseball if it weren't for Zimmer. And I'm sure a lot of people in the Rays organization that came up, feel the same way.
Right. No, great guy.
How about when he came out there after Pedro in the ALCS? That that was one of those moments in television where, first of all, it's Red Sox Yankees ALCS, which is just awesome in itself. And for Pedro to come out there, and Zimmer's the first guy out there to go after Pedro.
Right, I know.
That's all. I think that's all you need to know about the guy.
Yeah, I mean that's the type of guy he was. He was unfortunately rare.
I didn't even order this. Why does she keep bringing these things?
Because you look like you need it, and she's listening to the show and she knows you need it. So he was unfortunately we see too few of guys like that today. And really talking about your generation, that what a bunch of couture.
How many guys do you know?
What a bunch of coutures.
How many guys out there are my age that are sitting in a bar right now with an 85-year-old man bending his ear just to try to learn some things in life? How many do you know? Okay? So, please, sir, I appreciate every moment I have with you because you never know when it's going to be gone.
Yeah, you could get lost coming here the next time.
Like AJ.
Exactly.
How about the Bravos yesterday? Now with the I think 0 runs their last 15 innings, the fewest runs scored in all of Major League Baseball.
Yeah. We've got to look at you. Look at you. We've got to lead the league in shutouts against. I mean, we've got to lead the league in 1-run losses.
Right.
I think I've heard that.
Well, they just can't hit, Bo. And when Freddie Freeman's struggling like he is right now, and he's not gonna. He's the one guy on this club, other than Chipper Jones, in the last 10 years where you just know eventually they're going to come out.
Right,
it's a long season. Guys going fun. So he's going to be fine. But nobody, I tell you who really has impressed me, and at the beginning of the season, I was starting to be concerned that maybe we were approaching another Francoeur deal.
Listella's got a fellow.
No, it's Hayward. I was really starting to worry that Hayward couldn't play this game anymore.
Me too.
And now he's hitting the ball the other way. He's playing confident. He's using his speed. He's playing.
And you know what? His leadership ability is starting to come out.
He's the only one we got.
I think Freddie's reluctant. Freddie could be, but he's reluctant.
He'll bend your ear at first base, though.
And I'll tell you who's like, a little bit demented right now is Chris Johnson. But you know what?
They need a little bit of that.
Last year was an aberration.
I don't think he's a career 285 hitter. I don't think he's 240. I don't think he's 330. I think he's 285. I tell you one thing. I don't know about picking
you know what?
side to side.
He's fine.
He's got a good arm to first base.
He's fine. Everybody gets so over critical of defense and stuff. Like everybody doesn't want a guy ever to commit an error. He's fine, defensively. But you know what? I just loved him in the clutch a year ago. I was another guy we had in the clutch that you knew had a chance to come through. Now, it's like he's delirious up there.
Yeah,
he's guessing.
And they gave him the money. It's almost like they gave him the money and they kind of say, "Hey, we believe in you.
Well,
go do what you did last year. Go on out there and play with the others."
Yeah.
And he hasn't responded as of yet. You and I were talking about McCann earlier. You were kind of talking about how we should have kept him around a little bit, but shit, Gaddis is carrying this club.
Yeah.
I mean, he really is. And he's not a liability behind the plate. I thought he would be, but he's not.
No, but what we could do is that when you lose McCann, you're losing a 20-plus home run contributor.
Gaddis might hit that before the All-Star break.
But you know what? But what I'm saying is you had Gaddis and McCann. And think about what we're doing in left, or what we had been doing in left field. You know what I mean? That was our work. That was our biggest weakness when you talk about defense.
Oh shit! I'd have Gaddis out there any day of the week before Justin Upton. You might as well take Weekend at Bernie's or Larry Drew and put him out there in left field.
You know what? If something looks like it's going to the wall, Justin doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know whether to go to the wall. He doesn't know where to bat.
He's an awful outfielder.
He's awful.
He's a DH.
In fact, when we thought Hayward was an awful outfielder,
well, he worked on it. He was not a good outfielder when he first started. Right. He wasn't. It's amazing. That just shows you what kind of athlete he is.
Right.
I tell you what. Have you ever stood next to that freaking guy?
Yeah.
It is unbelievable how big he is.
No,
he's one of the biggest baseball player I've ever seen in my life. Number one, not even close, is Carlos Zambrano.
Yeah.
Zambrano's about 6'7", 285. and crazy as shit. Remember how crazy he was? Yeah. Golly, he'd be the last dude I'd come after in a brawl.
You know, thinking about guys we'd like to get is when you think about
Tim Hudson.
Hawks,
He looked good in a Braves
think
uniform.
About Stevenson, you know, how we need one of those guys.
Oh, you talking about the
Indiana.
Hawks?
Yeah, the Hawks.
He's a little much.
Well,
he's a little out there.
But
I take David West.
I see.
I'll take David
West.
West.
But we got David West.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying.
Yeah.
I'm talking about from a demeanor standpoint.
Yeah.
You know who I think?
Hey, I don't want Steven. In fact, I was so disappointed LeBron just didn't uppercut him when he put his hand in his face.
Isn't that the difference between everybody wants to compare Jordan to freaking? Could you imagine if Lance Stevenson did that shit to Larry Bird or Michael Jordan or Charles Barkley, or Isaiah Thomas, or pick your bad guy.
Right. See, but that's
they would kill him.
Hey, you want to find
just kill him.
You want to find a negative about LeBron? You can't when you think about his game. That's the negative. He doesn't have that killer instinct. In other words, he couldn't drive a guy into the scorer's table. Because
he's been taught since he was 2 years old not to beat up Dad.
I know.
LeBron, put Dad down. Put him down. What did we tell you about playing with Dad?
Yeah.
It's like Shaq. I had so much respect for Shaq as a player because people, they would come because he couldn't shoot free throws. They would come 5 at a time and just in the top of the head, and he would just take the ball and hand it to the official. I would be so mad.
At his patience.
Right?
Yeah. It was unbelievable.
Right?
Unbelievable.
I guess it just didn't hurt him.
When Stevenson went like that in LeBron's face, oh my. Like LeBron, maybe he was just like vapor locked.
Right.
Because he didn't know what to do either.
And David West is a Gold Glove boxer.
Yeah.
And you saw David West lean over and he was like, he's on his own, man. He's on his own. I ain't messing with that guy. No, I know what you're saying with the Hawks, but I think you can get that in the draft.
Right,
There's a guy
we're talking about things like that, right? The other thing like that we need is a Birdman. We need a guy coming off the punch.
It's easy to be Birdman when you have LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, and you can just have a mohawk and rebound and block shots. If he freaking played for the Hawks, he'd be on drugs again.
Which may not be bad.
Dude, I hung out with the Birdman one night. True story. Yeah. Swear to God. Yeah. He was at a club in Buckhead. He was suspended on his second suspension in the NBA for LSD.
Right.
How many people get suspended for LSD?
Yeah, Timothy Leary.
As far as I know, you can't test positive for LSD. You have to just walk up to somebody and be like, "I'm tripping." So he did. Not only did he do that one time, he did that twice. I'm tripping.
Yeah.
So,
like you walk up to AJ and you say, "Hey, I want to tell all you guys, I'm tripping."
Hey, so he was at a club, and this is before he had all the tattoos, but he still had the mohawk, and he was crazy, and he was 7'2" or whatever he is. He comes walking through with his shirt off, and he's soaking wet. Just soaking wet. And I'm with this weird dude who's a friend of mine, but he's a friend of a friend, but he's a sports nerd.
Right.
He goes, "Dude, this is before he's the Birdman." He's like, "That's Chris Anderson." And I go, "Birdman." And he looks over me. This is when he still did the thing like this. And he looks at me. He goes, I said, "Let's do a shot, Birdman." He goes, "Word?" And he went to the bar and he ordered us 3 shots of Jägermeister and put it on his tab. And I'm telling you, there was nobody at home. There was nobody there. I mean, he was soulless.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
And I root for that guy like hell because to where he was at that point in his life, I'm tripping. To now?
Well, we need one of those. We need one of those.
I know. I'll tell you where I met him. We can go down there and get another one.
You know what? I'll tell Danny Ferry I'll get him for you, Dan.
Can AJ have any handles?
AJ and I are going to be his agent, Danny, and we'll deliver them to you. Don't worry.
No, but all seriousness, I see what you're saying. You know the guy, Ed, you're a hoops fan. The guy from Michigan State who starts for Golden State now was a senior. He's a stretch 4. Oh, it's going to drive me crazy. He's like, this was his second year. I wanted the Hawks to draft this guy so bad, and he ended up going right at the beginning of the second round. The Hawks didn't pick to the second. Yeah. There are guys out there that are 4-year players that a team like the Hawks, who are like Golden State was a couple years ago, those are the guys you need. Guys that can come in and freaking play.
The guys that become,
power forward. He was a power forward. He was second round, plays for the Warriors out of Michigan State. Shoots threes. Anyway, point aside. So the guy who I want for the Hawks, and he's going to be there. He's supposed to go anywhere between 20 and 25. But if you're picking 15, who gives a shit? You don't trade back or don't take a chance. You take the guy, Cleanthony Early, the dude from Wichita State. He's a 3. He's athletic. He's a scorer. He's a great defender. 4-year guy.
Right.
That's
who
I want.
I read a report on him, and I really like the way. I can't remember his game, but I really remember what the scouting report said, and that's exactly the type of guy we need. We need that wiry, gangly, the 6'7" to 6'9" guy who's got a 7'1" wingspan.
Right.
One of those guys that's
he's got mid-range. He's got three-pointer.
He's never going to be a superstar, but you're never going to win without him.
Right. I want Cleanthony Early. I want a guy. Look, you're the Hawks. What good is it going to do to draft a 19-year-old kid?
No, develop. No.
Yeah, Draymond Green. Green.
Yeah.
Right. He was the guy, if you remember in the first round, who was starting on. He was the leader on the floor for that team.
Right.
Because Curry and Thompson and those guys are, they're finesse.
Right.
He was the heart and soul. He was the guy who they were getting their energy from.
I agree. Hey, how about Danny Green from Carolina?
Right.
How about a guy like?
Look at what Popovich has done with him.
God, he is so clutch.
Right.
It isn't even funny.
Well, they got him. They got Bellinelli.
And
they got
him
Bonner.
In the second round. They got Green in the second round.
They got Bonner. They got a lot of guys that can stroke it. So Triple Crown.
That's our design.
Right.
That's what
I
we want to be in Atlanta.
I think Korver's better suited being a 6-man. Bring Korver and Lou Williams off the bench, right?
Yeah,
for some offense.
Yeah, no, but the types of pieces that will never be superstars, but you can't win without them. You have to have them.
Right. And we never drafted those guys.
No.
We always drafted a freaking
guy
left-handed octopus from
if
Ukraine who's never going to play.
If he just develops, boy, he's going to be something.
Pop Say. I'm looking at my sheet. I'm like, who the fuck is Pop Say? Says he's from Trinidad Tobago and he's 7'9".
Right.
But he's 142 pounds, Bo. I think we need to put him in the weight room.
Nah, Coach, get him on Nutriment.
I'm going to go on right now, I'm going to go out on a limb. The kid from Kentucky, Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Last year, just absolutely ridiculous. Got hurt. He's put on 22 pounds of muscle in the offseason. He's up to 240 now.
That's what those guys do.
Because he's not even playing.
Yeah.
He's not playing. He's doing nothing but lifting.
Right.
And he's got that finesse. And this is a kid that was a guard in high school. So he's got the, what is it, whoopity-doo or oombapa-doo?
Whoopity-doo.
Yeah, whoopity-doo, and then you got oombapa-doo.
Oombapa-doo.
It's different, Doctor.
Oombapa-doo wins the other games.
Oombapa-doo can cause trouble, too.
Yeah.
So anyway, my prediction that they are going to be one of the top 4 seeds in the Western Conference next year. You get with that? I really do. I think New Orleans is going to be a top 4 team in the Western Conference next year because if you have a dude that's that good who's coming into his prime, he's unstoppable.
Right. We don't have that core. You know what I mean? That's when I say we were talking about the Hawks. Our core that might have been is too old to be core now. That's Al Horford. In other words,
he's not old.
No. He's what is he? 28, 29? That's not old.
I guess you're right. He played 3 years.
But that wouldn't be old to be a finisher, Hans. In other words, we're talking about an anchor piece now that you build around to develop, so that when this team is ready to do some damage, he's gone by then.
If Miami had Al Horford, a healthy Al Horford instead of Chris Bosh, it would be case closed. Case closed.
Right. But
I take Paul Millsap over Chris Bosh. Seriously.
Your problem is.
My problem is.
The problem is Chris Bosh is like the lottery. You gotta have a ticket. You gotta have it because every third game he's gonna give you something ridiculous.
Paul Millsap brings it every night. Every night he can dish, he can rebound, he's tough.
But he's a more
love me some Paul Millsap.
He's a more defensible entity than Chris Bosh. When Chris Bosh has got his game going on, you can't guard him.
Do you know how many stretch fours there are in the NBA? You just get some old freaking Czechoslovakian white dude who's 6'10" and tell him to go stand out the three-point line. Actually, I think there's one over here.
And tell your mother to send us some brats.
Last thing, Triple Crowns. It happen or no?
I think, yeah. You know,
yeah, I do too.
Law of averages.
I think it happens. Yeah. My mom's all into horse racing, and she's looking forward to the race, and she says it's going to happen, so I'll take her word for it.
Everybody's coming over to my house Saturday afternoon.
Here?
No, where I actually sleep.
Oh,
yeah.
Over there?
To watch the Belmont.
So how about NBC? Game one, the Stanley Cup Finals last night.
Yeah.
They don't want to compete with the NBA tonight or tomorrow.
Right.
So they're going to come with Game 2 on Saturday. A little bit of a layoff for the guys in hockey.
Right.
But they're going to parlay the Triple Crown Belmont Stakes coverage right over into Game 2 of the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. It's brilliant. Good for them.
And, you know, it's great for the NHL. They need something like that.
How about I thought the ratings in this would be up for the Stanley Cup Finals in comparison to last year. It was Boston and Chicago.
Yeah.
Down 30%.
This year?
Yeah.
No, I just heard something where it's up 28%.
You must have been listening to 790. Oh, they don't exist anymore.
Too difficult to run a format like that.
Got to be there early.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks to all of our listeners out there in Conyers and Cumming and to AJ Cannon. Good luck in the film studio. We hear you're doing great work.
Don't forget Noonan and Kent.
No. And hey, God bless you, Edward. Thank you. You guys have a great weekend. Will we see you next week?
Yeah.
Father's Day?
We've got to.
You got maybe a little one on coming?
Maybe.
A little Bach?
Maybe. Hey, I'm a
prolific
prolific individual.
That you are.
Oscar De Laurentiis.
See you guys.